Full recap and review of episode 21 of Love Island USA Season 7. The 21st episode of Love Island USA Season 7 was akin to a pressure boiler that had finally reached its boiling point. After the public vote in episode 20, the villa was shaken and the cracks widened, loyalties fractured, and every couple found themselves under scrutiny. Islanders were compelled to determine whether to strengthen their relationships or abandon them before it was too late, as the energy transitioned from lighthearted summer romance to pure survival mode. This episode was not about grand gestures or flashy bombshells. It was about the emotional aftermath, the murmurs in corners, and the sharp reality check that the audience is watching and judging. The villa appeared to have been divided into factions by the conclusion, as each embrace, side-eye, and whispered word was tinged with tension. Subsequent to the public vote, the episode resumed from the conclusion of the previous episode, with the public vote results leaving Islanders in a state of shock. Sitting in silence, some were taken aback by the fact that the external world did not perceive their connection as strong. Others attempted to maintain a composed demeanor, their features adorned with smug smiles as they realized they were the audience's favorites. However, what is the most significant point? There was no one who was secure. Even couples who believed their relationship was unbreakable abruptly began to question whether it appeared genuine or if it was merely for practical reasons. Additionally, this paranoia permeated each subsequent conversation. Breakfast with a side of side-eye. The following morning, the customary villa routine began to feel anything but ordinary. Despite the fact that Islanders convened for breakfast, the atmosphere was chilly. The unspoken tension was palpable as conversations were abruptly interrupted and side-eyes were directed at the table. Attempted to overcompensate by noisily expressing their emotions in front of everyone, as if the volume could persuade both the Islanders and the audience of their connection. However, the reality is that the more vociferously an individual proclaims the authenticity of their relationship, the less genuine it typically appears. The villa was not indifferent to the absurdity. Dialogues of doubt. In the course of the day, Islanders divided into small groups for informal conversations, each of which disclosed the expansion of the fissures. The public's opinion caught some Islanders off guard. One individual even admitted that they were uncertain about how to proceed, acknowledging that the uncertainty that was enveloping their partner's irises caused them to feel uneasy. Another individual adopted a more combative stance, asserting that the audience was unaware of their true selves and characterizing the event as a popularity contest. Episode 21 capitalized on the suspense that had been left in the air by the bombshell energy of the previous two episodes. The newcomer was not passive. They were actively stirring the stew, demonstrating that they were unafraid to pursue their desires. The audacity was successful. Suddenly, a few Islanders were glowing in a way they hadn't with their current companions, as genuine laughter ensued from flirtatious conversations. The intimacy was undeniable, and it prompted all observers to contemplate whether a recoupling could be the tipping point. Of course, not all individuals were as impressed. Jealousy bubbled to the surface as some Islanders bristled at the attention their companions were receiving. Others brazenly rolled their eyes, dismissing the bombshell as too much. However, the threat was genuine, and everyone was aware of it. The challenge that uncovered the truth. About halfway through the episode, the Islanders encountered an additional obstacle. This one, like so many others, was not intended to be amusing. Rather, it was intended to evoke drama. Islanders were compelled to disclose information that they would prefer to remain confidential. Secrets were disclosed, and inquiries were posed. One individual acknowledged that their perspective could be altered under the appropriate circumstances. When asked whether they could envision a future with their companion, another individual hesitated. Devastation, anger, and, in certain instances, scarcely concealed rage were all conveyed by the expressions on their partners' faces. These instances are cherished by the audience. However, they are emotional grenades within the villa. As soon as the challenge concluded, the consequences were immediate. The confrontations commenced. The villa was transformed into a battlefield of whispered accusations and impassioned debates following the challenge. Several couples fled to private areas, raising their voices and demanding answers. Others attempted to shrug it off, but it was evident that they were not feeling well. In a particularly heated exchange, An islander accused their companion of playing the game after their challenge responses failed to align with their private commitments. The defensiveness was palpable, and it was evident that this argument would not conclude with a tidy resolution. Simultaneously, an additional islander disclosed to their companion that the revelation had captivated their interest. It was delivered with care, but the harm had already been inflicted. Their partner's expression deteriorated, and at that instant, it was evident that a relationship was disintegrating before your eyes. Division and alliances. Upon the arrival of darkness, the villa was divided into factions. On one side, the islanders were steadfast in their commitment to maintain a unified front, adhering to their partners. On the other hand, those who were restless were already formulating their next course of action or complaining about their misinterpretation. Watching the islanders align with one another outside of their couples was what made this episode so captivating. Some islanders vigorously defended their spouses, while others fostered doubts as friendships evolved into alliances. It resembled a chess game, with each move meticulously calculated rather than a summer romance. The twist and the fire pit. No episode is complete without a fire pit moment, and episode 21 delivered one that was oozing with tension. The islanders were summoned, and the atmosphere was tense. They were aware that a surprise was imminent, but they were uncertain as to what it would be. The villa erupted into whispers and nervous glances when it was disclosed that another elimination was on the horizon. The islanders who were at risk were not arbitrary selections. They were the ones who had been identified by both the public and their fellow islanders, and this combination intensified the sense of peril that permeated the night. The episode concluded on a cliffhanger, with the islanders gazing into the fire with pale faces, aware that not everyone would be left intact by the end of the night. Final thoughts. Episode 21 was a masterclass in emotional repercussions. The bombshell kept everyone on edge. The challenge ripped open insecurities. The public vote's sting persisted, and the looming fire pit twist left the entire villa shaken. The fragility of each connection was the most notable feature. No couple felt genuinely secure, and no islander was untouchable. A few were discreetly realizing that their days in the villa might be numbered, while others were plotting an escape and scrambling to prove themselves. The second half of the season will be characterized by the ultimate measure of these connections, as demonstrated by episode 21. If the first 20 episodes were about creating connections, the stakes have increased, the game has changed, and the path to love, or victory, has never appeared more perilous.